Hey mamas, and welcome to the Entering Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Bilger, a wife, mom of two, VBAC mama, and doula. Join us every episode to learn from professionals, special guests, and moms just like you, ensuring that you know what you need to know and discover things that you didn't know before. I believe in you. Let's doula this, and let's navigate the transition of entering motherhood together. Hey mama, this is another episode of the Entering Motherhood podcast. This specifically is a doula talk episode, which if you don't know, we go live on Instagram. And by we, I mean me and Katelyn, who is the co-creator of our signature Own Your Birth childbirth education course. Please go look at that if you are looking for a childbirth education course. It's self-led online comprehensive course, and it is just packed with all the information that you will need to be able to feel informed and empowered as you navigate this stage of pregnancy and leading into birth and even the postpartum period. So we are so excited about that course, and we have been chatting and having these doula talks to provide you with more information to really own your birth and have information that maybe you didn't know or refresh your memory on things like that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you ever have any topics that you feel like you would want to add or hear, if you have any questions, then please reach out to us and let us know so that we can include it in these episodes and in these conversations that we are having for you to really feel informed and empowered. So let's get this episode started. Okay, hello, and welcome to another week of doula talk. We are chatting about finding out baby's gender reveals, surprise genders, all of those things, when you find out, if you don't find out, what that looks like, everything in between. And so I am going to add Katelyn now, and we will get chatting. Hello.
Let's try this again. Gender reveals are so much fun. And I also think, like, whether that be while you're pregnant or at the birth, because I don't know, like, we didn't find out with either of ours. And it was so much fun because even when we had a C-section with Solomon, like, the doctor was getting so into it. He asked my husband, he was like, "Okay, Dad, how are we doing this? Like, am I announcing it? Are you announcing it?" And it was just so much fun, like, how excited he was about it.
Yeah.
But it's also really fun when it's like you have all your friends and family around and you cut into the cake or you know, do whatever it is you're doing. I've seen some pretty creative ones. And
Yeah.
I don't know, either way, however you choose, it's just so much fun.
Yeah. I think, I was starting to say, like, it's really interesting because right now we have the ability to find out the gender and it's very accurate. I think before maybe it was questionable or like you'd have to like wait until an ultrasound and then maybe you could like determine from the ultrasound and hopefully see something if baby's like in a good position. And now, like, you can get blood work done. You can find out super early on. And then I think it's funny, though, sometimes there's always, like, the confusion, like, whoever gets the paper maybe, like, doesn't read it correctly, or there's, like, some sort of, like, "Oh, we thought it was a girl, and then it turns out to be a boy," and, like, that still can happen. So, like, even as, like, accurate as the blood work can be or, like, waiting for an ultrasound, there still is like that slight possibility of like inaccuracy. And so right now, like not finding out for this one, like we found out for our first two, this is our third, and we are not finding out. And I get a lot of like older generations, like, that's how we did it. Like, we couldn't find out, like, we saved it for birth. And like, they're kind of like reminiscing on this, like, oh, yep, like, we didn't find out until birth. And now I think people are, like our generation or younger, they're like, what? Like, you're not finding out? Like, how could you do that? Like, I need to plan out the nursery or what their first outfit will be or like have everything like picked out and their name and this and that. And so it's really interesting seeing like the different generations of like, yeah, you couldn't know before. Like
Yeah.
even, thinking way back before ultrasounds,
Yeah.
you know, maybe even like a generation or two ago, you weren't getting ultrasounds unless it was like medically necessary
Yeah.
sometimes. It wasn't
Well, even
routine.
like when my mother-in-law was pregnant with my husband, like she didn't have any ultrasounds for his older brother, but they had a couple concerns, so she had an ultrasound with him.
Yeah.
And that's my husband, like it's just the last generation. It wasn't
Yes.
that long ago, which is just crazy
Right.
to think. And now they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's nothing to have like multiple two, three,
Mhm.
four plus.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like you said, like some people are getting really creative. I mean, like I think the like most common is probably like the cake cutting or
Yeah.
the poppers and things like that. So it's
Mhm.
like, doing either, balloons in a box or setting off the poppers or I've seen, like the baseballs get hit and things like that. So it's like it really is creative sometimes. And then there's like the over the top like jets flying over and spraying out the colored fumes and whatnot and powder and it's like, it can be like a really elaborate thing going on and it's interesting, how it has evolved to that from like just finding out. But I think no matter how or what you're doing is like a choice that you're making. But, we don't even know what because before with Rosie, we did the blood work, so we found out very early on. And I believe we just kind of like posted something and said,
Mhm.
like, it's a girl.
Yeah.
And then for our second, we waited until the ultrasound. So we opted not to do the blood work. And it was very obvious that it was a boy. So we were like, okay, stall it. Like, we're having a boy.
Yeah.
And I think, again, for that, like, we just kind of set some, we never did like a gender reveal party or
Mhm.
we didn't do anything special at our shower. Like, we just kind of already knew and then themed accordingly. And then for this one, like, we don't really know what we're gonna do. Like, I'm thinking either, like, having a hat or a bow picked out and then just kind of doing that, like, like, which one is it?"
Mhm. I know. I
And
wanted to
then
do that with my daughter so bad, and then I
yeah.
just did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's so much fun. And like I think one thing that shocked me with at least my son, our first, was how long like we weren't planning on finding out the gender, but I was like surprised that it was like 20 weeks before you like not before you can, but before it's like routine to find out the gender. I
Yeah.
was like, "What in the world?" People are talking like they find out at, like, 8 weeks, which you can. You can find out that early with, like, blood work, but I was just shocked. I was like, "Wow, that is a long
Yeah.
time."
Yeah, yeah. I'm even seeing now that there's, like, some new even, like, at-home tests, I believe it is,
Mhm.
that you can
Yeah.
find out at 6 weeks or something along those like,
Wow.
it is super early so it's like, okay, like, people are finding out the gender of their baby, like, the same time that they're finding out that they're pregnant sometimes.
Yes.
So,
That's
it's like
wild.
you take a pregnancy test, and then you go and you take, like, the gender test, and, I think the hardest part this time around, not knowing the gender has definitely been naming the
Yes.
baby, like, having to pick out multiple different names, and, like, we
Mhm.
tried to do, like, maybe a gender neutral name or, like, figure out what that would look like, and we just couldn't agree on any of the gender neutral names of, like, yes, like, we would want that for both. So we have 2
Yeah.
completely different names picked out, and
Oh,
that's been strange because I have heard and, like, I do feel at this time around, I'm not, like, as connected with baby because I don't know who they are, you know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't have a name, and with, like,
Yeah.
both of our other kids, I had a name, and I would talk to them with
Aw.
that name. And so, like, this
Yeah.
time around, it's just like baby or
Yeah.
like, "They," and, like, we'll throw out, like, either name every once in a while, like, my husband will be like, "Oh, like, how's," and then, like, he'll use the boy name, and I'm like, "You mean," and then I'll use the girl name. And so, like, we'll
So
kinda
funny.
joke like that, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's definitely different, like, not knowing, like,
Yeah.
and both of our kids looked very similar, like, the first week, you put a bow on them and they look like a girl, you put them in blue, they look like a boy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, I think they're gonna just, look like a baby in the
Yeah.
beginning anyway, and even as our kids got older, we both had really bald kids. Rosie, our daughter, would get, like, mistaken as a boy,
Mhm.
and, like, I mean, she'd be in, like, pink shoes and a pink shirt, and people would be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, he's so cute," because she had no hair.
It's like, you don't have to have a war.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, we'd try to do, like, the bow on her as, like, often as possible, but yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, I don't know, it's just, like, finding out.
It's a fun little thing. It really is. And, like, especially with Solomon, I was like, I kinda do wanna find out. Like, I think it would be fun, but then I was like, "No, I've said I'm not going to for so long. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not changing my mind now." You know? And so, I don't know. It's just and now at this point, I'm like, "We have a boy, we have a girl. We didn't find out with either of them. I'm not doing it this time around."
yeah,
Which it's kind of funny because, since I am a nurse, like, actively working, then and I work in a high acuity area, then, we have an ultrasound machine that we use for various different things.
yeah,
And so if we're really slow and there's nothing going on, then sometimes I'll just grab it and be like, "Oh, let's just look at baby." And I'm always like, "I gotta be careful doing that."
yeah.
Because you can see things, and but I'm so bad at reading ultrasound. I'm like, "Oh, I think that's the heart. That's the head. That's about as far as I can go."
What is this part? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh
It's
gosh.
just a lot of fun, and especially, like, I think also kinda like what you were saying, like, this generation is so used to being able to find out. Like, I've been surprised, not so much at this point, but how much pushback you get. It's like, "What? You mean you're not finding out? Why aren't you finding out? I need to find out. Like, can you find out for me?" And I'm
Right.
like, "No, I'm not finding out for me. I'm definitely not finding out for you."
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
I've
just a
definitely
normal
gotten
thing.
a lot of that and a lot of, like, "Oh my goodness, like, how could you do that? Like, how can you not
Mhm.
know? Like, that would stress me out so much," or, like, "I need to know," and it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's a different feeling. I mean, like, we've definitely gone back and forth, and, like, now we're so
Mhm.
far
Mhm.
past
Mhm.
finding out that it's like, we'll just find like, there's no way to find out unless we did have some sorta ultrasound or whatnot, like, there's absolutely no way to find out until baby comes out, and I think with our first, I did have a little bit of that, like, gender disappointment if it wasn't a girl, like, I really, really wanted a girl, and so I think if she would've turned out to be a boy, I would have been a little disappointed, and I
Yeah.
know, like, that can happen too, like, when you do find out, like, maybe you're a boy mom and you have, 2 or 3 boys already, and you were like, "I'm a boy mom, that's it, like, I need to, like, always have boys," and then you have a girl, and, like, obviously, like, hopefully, you're happy no matter what, but, like, it can be like, "Ugh, like, I'm not a boy mom anymore, like, what does that make me?" And, like, you and I
Yeah.
are both have one of each, so we're kind of, like, already,
Mhm.
just both, but, like, I
Yeah.
also, like, don't know what that is called because it's like, I do hear, like, "I'm a girl mom," or, "Oh, I'm a boy mom," and it's like, "Oh, I'm a mom."
Yeah, I know, I
Like
know,
like,
I
there's
know.
not really a word for, like for if you're both, so
Yeah. It is fun though, and, like, with those labels, but I also think to, like, kinda going a little bit deeper into the whole gender thing, I think it shows how much control, like, this generation needs
Mhm.
to feel, like, safe and secure, and I think that's also kind of the beauty of not finding out is it's like you're learning to surrender a little bit more into, like, all right, this is the birth of my baby, and it's gonna go how it's gonna go, and I'm gonna be happy with it. Like, I say, there's definitely birth trauma and it's okay to grieve a missed experience or, whatever. But at the end of the day, birth's going to do what birth's going to do. And we can prepare, we can educate, we can do all the things. And that definitely helps. But there's something special to be said about being able to surrender some of that control.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's another thing that I've like really thought about with this whole gender thing. And the gender is just, it's a fun thing. Like at the end of the day, like gender disappointment is real, but if it's a boy or a girl, great. Either way. But I think this generation just holds on to so much need for control to feel
Yeah.
safe. And birth, you just can't do that. You cannot do that. So that's something that I've really thought about with really mostly my second and this one, because I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know with my first, but especially with my second, I was like, I'm just letting go of that. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think it is, like, one of those things, like, we have the ability to find out, but, like, when you can kind of, like, lean into that unknown and,
Mhm.
let things be how they are, it is
Yeah.
exciting, and it is, like, a little bit of, like, a battle of, "Oh, I have to,
Mhm.
let this go, and I made this decision, and this is what we're
Yeah.
going with," and it's, like,
Yeah.
one of those things that, like, fluctuate, and feelings are all over the place, but it is a piece of, yeah, letting it go and letting it be, and I've,
Mhm.
been to multiple births now that it's surprise genders, and I think it's the coolest thing, and it's really
Yeah.
exciting. And I was like, "If this is our last, like, I wanna experience that, like, I wanna know what it's like."
Yeah.
And our vision right now is that, like, baby just comes immediately on my chest and we, like, cover them really quickly, and then Rosie comes in and she says, like, if it's a boy or a girl. So, like, that's kind of, like, what we're hoping for and, like, thinking of, and yeah, like, getting her involved with it and, like, letting her experience that and see, like, is it a boy or a girl?
Aw.
Um, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll see
Yeah.
what happens, but it will definitely be interesting. And I also wanted to say it's been really hard finding clothes for, I'm like, "Okay, we have girl stuff, we have boy stuff, but, like, I do want some gender neutral things, like, just for,
Mhm.
like, their first few outfits or, like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
put them in?" Not knowing, like, I like to always pick out, like, some few new things, like, obviously, we have, like,
Mhm.
plenty of clothes from our first 2, but, like, it's cute to get, like, a few new things, and, like, even the
Mhm.
gender neutral stuff, I'm like, this seems more boy, or it's even split, like most stores, it's like all
Yeah.
girl stuff, all boy stuff.
Yep.
And then as they get older, it's definitely like all girl stuff, all boy
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, where is the gender neutral stuff? It's just completely split. And you would think like in the baby section, they would just have like standard, like I'm looking for like just plain neutral colored outfits or something. And it's like a white
Mhm.
onesie with like blue moons and stars on it. And so I'm immediately like, oh, that's a boy outfit. Or even like the designer bit. It's like little flowers or like, cars. And it's it's like, why
Yeah.
can't they just have like standard colors? And
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, and I know like there's one outfit that we've gotten for between both of our kids. And it was like yellow stripes with a couple ducks. And I was like, I feel like that is truly like a gender neutral because it wasn't like a really girly yellow either. Cause I feel
yeah,
like yellow can go kind of lean girly, but it was a
yeah.
very neutral yellow with
Just
some ducks. And that is the one outfit that I feel like was actually gender neutral.
right? Yeah, it really is. It's like yellow or green, I feel like are like the
Yeah.
standard, quote unquote, like gender neutral. But yeah, it's been like really difficult trying to figure out like, and I was like, well, I mean, Amazon's super quick. Like I can order stuff online and have it shipped to the house.
Yeah.
So like that first week I can just, buy a couple new things because I love like the little ruffle butts for girls.
I know,
I
they're
think
cute.
that's so cute. And, like, I do really like all the floral patterns and stuff like that. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, boys are more like primary colors and bold colors. And then girls are like more pastel-y or like those jewel tones and things like that. So
Mhm.
it's interesting like how even that has changed and shifted
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
I mean, pink wasn't always a girl color.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't
Yeah.
know. It'll be
Very interesting.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see, like, how all of that evolves and things as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, 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 let
We'll
us
just
know,
talk
like,
about what
did
I'm
you
gonna do.
find out? When did you
Yeah.
find out? Are you finding out? Do you wanna find out? Like, all the details.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, there are some really creative ideas of how people do gender reveals, and,
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how this time will go when we don't find out until birth, so
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about it. But all
alright.
right. Well, we will see y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you, mamas, so much for listening. Remember, you are a rock star. I believe in you. Let's doula this. Let's crank it up a notch and let's kick it into high gear together. Hit that subscribe button, share this episode with a friend, message me, email me, call me, beat me. You know how to reach me. We're doing this, mamas. I am so excited to catch you here next week. This is your one-stop go-to place for helping you find the resources you need to make the best choices for you and your family during pregnancy, birth, and most importantly, postpartum. See you later, mamas.